she is the only or the first creative designer who was a woman. So interestingly, if you actually go back and date all the luxury brands and their creative designers, it was Saint Laurent, and then there was Versace, Christian Dior, each and every one, even Gucci for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, imagine you had to do that every single day when you get up. And so Chanel actually coming in was quite revolutionary for so many women, right? Because she understood what women wanted, and it was very beautiful to watch fashion marry comfort.
So we have Ruchika Guria with us here today. She has studied luxury brand management from ESSEC Business School in Singapore, and she's worked with Christian Dior Couture and Condé Nast previously. Today we're going to dive deep into the dark secrets of luxury brands and the future trends of luxury. Welcome to So What's Next, Ruchika. Happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So obviously we've spoken about this before, and you need to tell me some really good stories about luxury brands and their dark history. So interestingly enough, these brands have come a long way now, and as we know them, they have a lot of codes and designs, right? And I remember I spoke to you about customer experiences. Like, since you had worked at Christian Dior Couture, there was a lot of things that you got to know over there, that what these brands were doing in their stores, that they would kind of make a customer want to buy from them, right? So tell me about those things.
So it's not necessarily about making them buy. Interestingly, codes are really how the creative directors back in the day represented or were seen, or it was very close to them because it was a vision that they had, right? So even let's start with color. So it can obviously be seen in multiple ways of what really these codes are. It can be through color, it can be through emblem, it can be patterns. So for color, we all know the Tiffany blue, right?
Yeah.
It's literally defined its own color. It has the patent and everything.
Yeah.
And then we also have the Hermes orange. We have the Fendi yellow. So I think it's really just those very subtle ways that brands show who they really are and kind of represent themselves.
But there's a backstory to it, right? I mean, there's a reason why a certain brand has a certain color. For example, if you're a designer, you'll have a favorite color. And
it's not always that, right? It's a lot of things that you're either inspired by. So let me give you Christian Dior story.
Yeah.
The two big colors that actually come out when we speak about Dior is grey. When you walk into the stores or you look at the furniture, it's grey. And I'll tell you why is that. So Christian Dior was he was born in Granville. So he's living in Normandy. It's a small town in France, and a lot of Normandy and everything around it was grey and pink. So you will see those colors even within the collections, but also in the stores, because it's a representation of who he is, right? Even, for example, there was a Valley of Lilies. So lilies itself is a very important flower for us too. So you'll also see it in our designs that keep coming up, or the kind of patterns that are created. Let me give you, there is one capsule collection that we do, which is a beach capsule collection, which we call Dior Riviera. You'll see a pop of color. So you'll always see a very vibrant pink that will be coming in. Obviously, different shades of pink, but there will always be
one vibrant color that's
standing
out.
It does. It comes in blue, it's green and everything, but pink will be somewhere always part of each and every collection that we do, be it a capsule or be it the bigger collections that we do, for winter, summer, spring, cruise, for example. There was also the leopard print, which came in very high and big with Gucci, for example. We have fur, which is Fendi, and Fendi was all about fur.
What's
even
the
at the inception. So actually, I don't know if you've noticed, but the symbol of Fendi, it's an F and F.
Okay.
So it's two Fs, and it actually stands for fun furs.
Fun?
furs, because
Oh.
the inception of Fendi was furs.
Why? Like
It was the first brand that made fur. So it was all fur clothing, right?
Okay,
So,
okay.
I mean, everything that we wear today was all inspired and brought by them for the first time. So,
That's how they became popular.
yeah, so
Okay.
that was like the first collection. Obviously, then they streamlined and they moved towards more ready to wear, accessible ready to wear. Also, you can't wear fur every day, so they moved a little bit. But like Fendi fur is always known, or even when you look at Balmain, right? They have this, they have these beautiful blazers, and they're literally known for their blazers, and they are lion buttons on the blazer. So there are all these like small, very intricate details that brands watch to are interpreted by current creative directors, and all of these codes come from our archives, from the history back in the days.
But so that's what I'm saying, that like when these brands have these very intricate details in them, in the designs that they create, they want people to buy it for those stories that these clothing lines have. But people don't essentially buy it for that, right?
Yeah, they don't. It's not necessarily, I think, a priority for
Yeah.
people to understand the inspiration. But I think for some it is important, and one of the most important things that I think most luxury brands do today is the art of clienteling or storytelling.
Yeah.
Which
Tell
is
me
something
about
that I did for a
Yeah,
living,
you
right?
did that, right? So,
So-
like, tell me some interesting stories about
So
that.
clienteling is all about how are you able to share the inspiration and the story of a particular product. Okay, let me give you an example. So we have the famous Lady Dior bag, right? It's this beautiful like box bag which has canage, stitch all over it. It has a beautiful Dior emblem, and those like little hanging charms there. And yeah, it's a day to night bag, really. And the story of it is, or rather the reason why we call it Lady Dior today is because Princess Diana wore the bag for the first time. So she was the first royalty back in the day who wore the bag for the first time, and that is why the name Lady comes from that.
Oh.
So these are like just like this, again, very small things. So
Small-
it's a way of, it was a tribute of sorts, and that's why. So originally the bag's name was different, and then after the death
She wore it,
of Diana, it then moved ahead as a tribute to her, and now it's known as the Lady Dior, and it's one of the most iconic bags.
And you use these
of
to
Dior.
like sell it to people.
We
Use
help.
these stories.
We
I mean.
help.
Yeah.
We help bring things to context, right? Because
Right.
I think whatever we do today has a story behind us, has an intention behind it. So it really helps to put all of it into perspective.
But like there are so many brands right now, and so let's take LVMH for example. Okay, like they own, I think, how many 186 brands if I'm not wrong. So now every brand will have a story, and every brand is placed in a very I don't know what's the word, in a very like strategic way.
Yeah.
Where which brand is accessible to which customer can have access to which brand.
I think you're talking about a client, or like a brand pyramid here.
Yeah. So can you explain me the brand pyramid in detail? Because like I've only heard about it. I'm sure
Yeah.
like very few people know about the term as well.
Mhm.
So just tell me about it.
Of course. So I mean, it's relatively simple. There's not really much to go into detail, but it really is that all the brands out there, like everything from H&M all the way to a Chanel or an Hermes, everything falls in something called as a brand pyramid. Like I like to just put it into boxes like this because it's kind of easier to understand. So yeah, it just starts from like accessible brands, affordable brands, to moving to high-end luxury, premium luxury, uber luxury. So depending, again, it moves as in well with the price point, but also exclusivity, because it's not something that again is affordable by everybody. And all these brands are also made to appreciate, right? Like even watches or even high jewelry.
Yeah.
These are very uber luxury concepts, really, because they are not for everybody. And like I said, right, the reason why we have codes and represent different kind of representations in within the brand, it's really so for people who appreciate and understand, like, you know, what are they really
but like
wearing.
obviously there are
And
like very few people who will appreciate or understand that
exactly
brand,
why
right?
storytelling and clienteling comes in
Exactly.
picture.
So now tell me this, that for example, a very vague thing like Starbucks is accessible to everyone. So everyone will buy a Starbucks cup of coffee.
Actually, it depends from market to market, I would say.
Yeah, okay, like let's take
Yeah.
India, or not India, but US for example. Starbucks is
US
pretty,
is a, you know,
pretty common
Costa
thing.
coffee for us.
Yeah, exactly. So now how does that work in terms of brands? And give me examples and names of brands where something is accessible to a lot of people, like H&M or Zara.
Yeah, so like again, these are like some, there are mass brands, like I said, like, you know, H&M, Zara, Mango. There will be premium brands where, you know, we would have brands like Jimmy Choo, Coach, Kate Spade, for example. Then, you know, then these are also like a mix of like affordable premium luxury. So like that's where I kind of put them into, I club them into. And then, you know, we have desirable brands, but again, like achievable desirable brands like LV, Gucci, and we have Saint Laurent and Celine, for example.
What's top tier?
I would say top tier would be Chanel, Hermes, and Dior.
Like, why are these three brands more expensive than LV, which kind of owns Dior?
So LVMH as a conglomerate owns Dior.
Yeah.
So LV, by just the universe of it, is very different from what Dior is, right? It's just like how every brand ethos is.
Correct.
So for example, let me give you India's example here. LV is relatively more accessible in terms of the recruitment products that they offer. So when I say recruitment, which means that having products which are relatively more affordable, like, you know, if you save up for a couple of months and, you know, you want to splurge on some like couple thousand, you know, bucks, say like 40, 50, 60 thousand INR, right? So again, something you can definitely go in and get something from there. But even when it comes to Dior, they don't necessarily have as many recruiting products. So even to industry standards, you know, if you have to ever compare Gucci or an LV, LV and Dior, and even Gucci in that case, right? Like Dior will somehow have a higher price point compared to the other two, just by the same kind of product offering they're having.
But why? If they have the same product offering,
That's just the pricing strategy, really.
Okay.
So, and again, it's very sacred to every brand. So, really can't go into detail with that. Yeah, but again, it's again like it's the value proposition, right? In the end, it's what they're offering, because it boils down to also the kind of leather they're using, the kind of metal they're using, what kind of detailing
basically
that there is on every.
And
Exactly.
And
So I think it's really just the game of that.
That's pretty, I think, generic and basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you interestingly said that in India it's a different scenario compared to other countries, right? For luxury.
In the sense?
Like how luxury brands will be like sold here will be different to, obviously every country will have their different strategies for the brand.
So there is a generic strategy, naturally, right. And then there is obviously
country specific
only cause, you know, there's every government laws and
right. So the thing I'm getting at is, it makes me wonder, why isn't there a brand in India which is kind of on a global scale? Like, we will talk about Manish Malhotra, Anita Dongre, for examples, but these are in the like wedding space, majorly Indian traditional.
Correct. It's not necessarily ready to wear.
Right. You know? So why isn't there a brand in India that's kind of on the same level? Like, I mean, is it a talent issue where people don't, like, we are not good designers in that sense? Is it a like business issue where you need capital, stuff like that? Because the way I see it, luxury brand in the future, I think it's going to be like $3.3 trillion industry.
Yeah.
So that's a huge chunk of money.
That is.
And India not being a part of it is kind of a big deal for Indians, right?
Okay, so I think there is, I look at it differently. One is that we're very different from the Western world. Just East Asia or just the Eastern world itself is so different, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at taking brands globally, there is no ready-to-wear brand that I know of, particularly. If there is, then there is, but if anything that I know of is in the luxury space, because a lot of fashion came from the 1800s and 1900s, right? And they all came from Europe, because Europe is the heart of fashion.
Correct.
There is Paris and there is Milan. Obviously, then we also have London close by. So it's mostly these spaces also where they created this kind of craftsmanship also. India has very different kind of craftsmanship. I don't think either is better or...
No, I mean, it's not like some sort of comparison between the two, but it's sort of a thing where if Europe has a taste of its own, India has a taste of its own.
It does, but again, if you see that they all have taken a very long time to be where they are today. So I am sure that we have...
Like, we have started, but I mean, so from what I can say, I'm a 22-year-old guy who goes...
Yeah.
Even if I go on Instagram, I see majorly like streetwear brands in Mumbai at least, you know. So I don't see a brand that's at least like trying to segue its way into the luxury space as such. Do you know of something like that? Because I think you
not necessarily, but again, like I said, right, it's not I'm sure when Christian Dior, for example, or LV decided to open their boutique, they did not think that was going to be an uber luxury brand which will be part of something as big as it, or become as big as it is today. I mean, he had families, and then there were generations who decided to continue. But again, it was something that has taken years and years of work to be where it is today, and with obviously natural mistakes and mishaps that have happened with every brand.
I think it's a fair point.
Yeah, so I think time will tell. But to answer your question,
that's the thing, that you're telling me that it took them like kind of 2 centuries to be where they are. What do you think of being technology right now with everything that's happening?
Yeah.
Remember I sent you, or you sent me an article about AI coming in, where designers are using AI to create designs for them in a much faster way.
So there was one
those
designers. Yeah. I think this was like really early in the 2018 era, where AI was just like still in its formulative stage. We're still like trying, testing, doing A/B testing, everything. And one of the designers wanted to create something very similar to Balenciaga at the time, and he created a whole line using AI. So I think AI is having a massive, or technology in general is having a massive impact on luxury or just fashion in general.
Exactly. So now tell me, why won't an Indian guy or girl sitting anywhere in the country use that to create some design or thing of his own in a creative way, which is kind of accepted by the entire country? With the population that we have, it can segue its way into luxury. Obviously, the execution part is different, but it can be global, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to take like 2 centuries of
course not. I think today, in the generation of Instagram and social media that we live in, things happen much faster. So even there are so many brands who are relatively newer. Like even MK is like a relatively newer brand.
Okay.
If you're comparing it to like decades and decades of LV and Gucci, then naturally, compared to that, LV is a relatively newer brand. MK is a relatively newer brand, right? So, but obviously with the help of social media, it has been able to create the presence that it has today.
Right.
So I'm sure that if someone wants to move in that direction, and I'm sure there are people thinking about it in India and moving in that direction, that we will be able to see it in no time, and maybe in a couple of years already.
But what do you think about the future in fashion? Like fashion tech is an industry that's like coming up.
Yeah.
So what's your view?
So I think it's a very interesting relationship that fashion and technology are coming together.
So when you were working at Dior, like what was the issue that you had, and what was like...
I won't say there were issues. I think there were like
traditional ways of doing business.
Traditional ways of doing things, and I think technology would just help come in and make things a little bit easier. Okay, imagine this, right? This is 2018, 2019,
Okay.
pre-COVID. Imagine you're going to a store, even like literally any store, any luxury store. Imagine Birdhouse, for example. You're going in there. It's a massive departmental store, right? So it has like multiple brands around, multiple counters of different brands. And I walk into the store, and I would come up to you and be like, okay, I'm interested in this bag. I think it was this color and this is how it looked, and this is how the sales representative would then go ahead and understand what bag she's talking about, and be okay, fine, just give me a moment, let me go and check my stock. So she goes back in the back of house is where the stock is put and the inventory is kept, goes back inside, and she has to check the bag. So first she has to find the bag among all the bag categories that is offered at the store. One. Second, she'll have to look for that particular size, because each bag also comes in different sizes, like small, medium, large, for example. And then you also have to look in the colors that's available. And all of those quantities, she would have to go back, check, count literally, physically, come back outside and tell her, okay, I have this bag and I have it in these colors and I have it in these sizes, and this is the, the price offering, la la la. You have that whole process going on. And then she'll be like, okay, fine, like show me this color in this size, for this particular bag. And you would have to go back inside, bring the bag, and show it to her. Now imagine all of this is like fast forwarded today, right? Today we have technology that helps us to catalog inventory in a very helpful manner, because see, it does two things here, right? It helps to elevate customer experience once, because then imagine having it all on an iPad, very simple, very easy. So it's just kept at the side of the counter. I have to slide it open, show you these are the kind of offerings I have. So I'm showing you my whole catalog of bags.
And then you get to choose.
And like she gets to choose. She gets to see the colors. And naturally, in terms of inventory and just the quantity, something that is information just for the team. So we also have it on our phones, so we also have an app that helps us to kind of define that. So imagine all of this is streamlined so much so that it's not only easy and friendly for the customers, but it's also friendly for the team,
right?
Because luxury in the end is everything about the sales team. Like they are honestly like a nerve. They're like the nervous system in the whole body. Super important, super crucial. That's how even the business functions. So they're very important. They are at the center of everything, and so are stores.
Tell me about how luxury using tech is kind of segueing its way into different industries as well, like diversifying itself.
So there are a few examples, right? So one obviously is that we have this concept of metaverse that's really come in. It's hit the stores. Everyone's trying to figure out.
But something, it's not very popular, dude. Like, I can't think of fashion and metaverse in one sentence.
Okay, so think of Balenciaga.
Yeah.
And think of LV. Because they were able to launch they were able to launch games where we were able to do that already. Metaverse, I think, is just allowing you to display their items. There were so many movies back in the 2000s already predicting this. That's where like VR and AR came into reality, right? It was basically that, where you're looking at a screen and you have all these outfits. When you're basically trying and testing different things, trying to see what looks best and what's going to be the outfit of the day, and then basically bring it out. So it's just all there at the tip of your finger.
So that's what you think, like metaverse is going to be helpful for fashion?
I mean, it has started to it is something that brands have been adopting, and we are starting to see that it's moving in that direction. I cannot say for sure, because I feel like it has a limited offering when it comes to these things.
Yeah, like I just think that when you go to a store, you can like through the VR headset or something like that, you can visit the stores and all.
Yeah.
And obviously, like these stores have started, like these brands have started now expanding into different industries, like you told me about the food
yes, so experiential luxury, that's a very interesting topic. That's something that I'm closely following too, as well.
Tell me about experiential luxury.
So experiential luxury is all about luxury brands trying to diversify into different categories of offerings that there are, right? So imagine lifestyle, everything that falls in lifestyle, right? So everything to do with the way you dress, the kind of skincare and makeup you're using. I think everything to do with even your house, so your sofas, your side tables. You also have mesa, so that's like the whole kitchen collection, kitchenware, that is all offered in one store. Let's talk about Hermes. LV is also having one. It's under renovation in Paris at the moment, and even Dior recently opened its flagship store. And we have and the whole store, actually, it's so beautiful because it's divided into multiple sections and categories, right? So you have your leather goods section, you have your accessories, you have ready to wear, you have exotic
like
bags,
the normal.
yes, so we have all
store.
of this, and then on top of that, imagine after a beautiful day of shopping and having that whole relaxation time, you can go up ahead and get a cup of tea with your friends. So they have cafes, and actually this is something that has been going on for probably close to a couple of years now.
So when these brands are like kind of expanded into these sectors as well, are they trying to be accessible
So
to people?
my viewpoint on this is that I think we're moving in. Okay, imagine this, right? Like 2 decades ago, we didn't know what was internet, right? It came in 1995. Every single thing that we do today, literally from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, there is access to internet in every way, shape or form. It's part of your meditations. It's part of your workout. It's something that you do even when you're at work. It is something that you use to communicate or interact with the world around you, right? So
Correct,
it's something that is so wholesome. And I think that luxury is also moving in that direction where it is going to be part of your life. It's going to be a lifestyle of sorts.
But isn't the point of luxury that it should be accessible to only a few people?
It is, but again, right, what I'm talking about is the kind of categories that are being offered.
Right.
So, for example, somebody like, for example, if you can buy, say, an Armani suit or a Dior suit, right? And someone cannot. So they have this option of buying, say, a perfume and still be part of the mesa and still experience it to whatever extent and lengths that they can. And I think that's where that's why I think even the concept of experiential luxury moves into those segments for me too, because it's accessible, but also at the same time, it's so rare.
So yeah, how do you think, like, whenever I go to these places where I can get everything I want from from a perspective of luxury,
Yeah.
How do you think AI or something like that is going to play a huge role in that?
So I think AI plays a role in,
Like, in terms of experience, how is AI going to help?
it really just only helps to elevate the experience, right? Because
Right.
it helps us to bridge the gap for all the things that we could not do. Because a lot of times luxury is all about making the client feel special, and it's all about when they come in the store, we can do all of these things for them. But what can we do for them when they're not in our stores? And that's exactly why AI helps to bridge the gap and make us feel more closer and keep the communication and the conversation going with our
Can you
clients.
give me an example of how AI is like being able to do that when the customer is not in the store, but
like I said,
offline?
right? Like, look at the website propositions that you have. Look at you can also have that all on your phone, all accessible. Back in the day, even sometimes I think there are so many people in the industry who not necessarily or like older traditional people are not necessarily excited about the fact that it's on your phone.
Yeah.
Because for them the value proposition is absolutely nothing. Luxury is experience. Luxury is an emotion.
Exactly. So even when so many people, like, I don't know, but I relate to the fact where I have to go to some place to buy something.
Yeah.
I can't do it online for some reason. Like, even my entire generation is buying stuff online. It's not the same for me.
Exactly. So, imagine having just that one-stop shop. So you walk into the flagship store, you have everything that you need to shop from. So, you meet your girls, you have, your shopping experience, which is extremely relaxing, fun. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. You can also go for spas. So all of these luxury brands also, well, most of them at least, have a beauty line as well, right? So, everything to do with fragrances, everything to do with beauty, everything to do with skincare, all of it is, again, another category available for the clients to experience the best possible out there. Imagine going to a spa. Imagine getting yourself a croissant. Imagine getting yourself coffee, just any, and even a meal for that matter. And then on top of that, you're able to go and enjoy the suites that there are, the private suites that there are. I mean, imagine all of that. It's just one-stop shop. So you just have to put like that one day aside for yourself and like, okay, today's my pamper day. I'm gonna go all the way
Bro,
out.
you know, so I just see money in all of this, man. Like, if you just place yourself in one of these situations where you are getting money out of this, I think you're set for life.
You get money out of the experience?
Yeah, like how can a person supply something to these brands that's kind of helping them to alleviate the experiences that customers have? Do you get my point?
You mean like a third person?
Yeah. You know, so it's a
I mean, I don't think there will really be a
there
third
won't
person.
there won't. I mean, a corporation, something like that. But I'm just saying, like, if someone figures out a way to make money out of this, I think there's big bucks in it.
Well, it's the brand that's making money out of it. But also, I think when it comes to imagine going to a chartered, private flight, private jet. All of it is the freedom that comes with money, you know.
Yeah.
Again, it's an experience, very rare, very exclusive, very secluded for the rich.
So
looking to spill the tea today.
Yeah. Like, it needs to be like conspiracy theory type of stuff.
Of course.
You know. So yeah, go ahead with any one story that you have for me.
Actually, there are a couple. I mean, a lot of luxury brands are, they have come into existence from like the early 1800s, 1900s, and we all know times like those were rather controversial in like so many aspects, be it using just luxury brands or be it with awards. So I think it's just all in there. I think a couple of brands that come to my mind, one would probably be Versace. So Versace actually has a very interesting story. It's a tale of success, and it ends in a mystery towards the end. Like a very mysterious way of end. So you don't want me to spoil it for you just yet.
Yeah.
Anyways, just to start off with, I think just for you to know a little bit about the designer, Gianni Versace was like this, young boy, Italian actually by nature. I mean by
birth, yeah.
By birth, yeah. And he around that time, actually, particularly, there was a lot of these kind of trends going on, because it was also somewhere close to the time where the World War had just finished, right? So we are all trying to just kind of come back from it and trying to find a new normal. And yeah, around that time, I mean, schools had begun. Gianni, as a really young boy, was never really a studious boy. He was always interested in fashion. Obviously, the credit goes to his mother, because she ran a very small boutique.
Oh.
And she had this... she had, her clients coming in. She would just dress them up, measure them, and it was, just a regular boutique.
Right.
Naturally, for him, because that was his surroundings, and he always helped his mother, with just helping her get the stuff when it comes to materials, and he was very hands-on, watching her stitch. Naturally got a inclination towards it, and then he moved towards, starting to draw them. So like, imagine a young boy who's in school. He's trying to kind of bring whatever he can and his creativity all on paper, right? So interestingly, his mother was called in one day, and the principal wanted to chat with them, and he's like, and she shows the mother all these images of women who are, just images of women. So she basically thought that he was some, I don't know, sexist, psycho,
like drawing
obsessed with, everything that he shouldn't be at the time. But obviously, his mother Francesca had an eye, and she was able to see that it was not really the woman that he was obsessed with or he was drawing, but it was, more about the clothes that he was designing and drawing for them. And yeah, I think after I don't think he even finished his 10th grade. He did not given the exam that, board exams that we're supposed to. He just went ahead and dived completely deep
Into fashion.
And he was helping his mom because by then it was a full-fledged boutique,
Right.
and they just kind of want to take it forward. And his mom just gave him a little space and allowed him to explore his creativity with fashion. So at a very young age, actually, he moved to Tuscany, and then he moved to Milan, where he was working in a proper store, learning the craftsmanship, learning how to design, learning all about materials, what things he can play with, stitching. And I think, just moving forward, he went ahead and opened his own brand. So Gianni Versace was then out there. He had this beautiful brand, very controversial because the kind of fashion he had was rather open, even when it came to
Define open.
So let me put in. So back then, women were properly dressed, very covered.
Right.
They didn't really,
Traditional.
they didn't experience with their clothing or. And nowhere were they sensual.
Yeah.
And so Gianni wanted to explore that side, and he was not scared of showing skin or letting that be an obstacle for his creativity. So he just went ahead and created these designs for women, and slowly and steadily, I think it just picked up. And
that led him to become a success. in the world.
that is really Versace as a brand, and then his sister Donatella came in. She has diffusion line called Versus within the brand itself. And interestingly, actually, he was, I mean, again, it's just a conspiracy theory, I don't know for sure, but he was actually, he recognized himself as somebody who's gay. So he went to a lot of gay clubs. He was really, and he obviously had a partner as well at the time. And he was killed mysteriously by just some random serial killer back in the day. This guy was actually America's serial killer and most wanted guy at the time. And he just one day in the morning, Gianni went out for a walk, and while entering his house, he was shot on the stairs of his mansion. Really
Fun.
But well, that's his story. And then Versace went on to kind of try to keep on with the legacy, and then eventually was taken over by Capri Holdings.
Oh.
So it doesn't belong to the family anymore.
So was the guy who killed him found who killed him and he got caught or something?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the end, he was known about, not necessarily caught, because he shot himself dead.
What?
The guy who, the serial killer shot
okay.
himself dead because he would rather be dead than be in jail, as per him. So he killed his mother, his father, and then he shot himself.
So reminding myself of killings, Gucci has an interesting story related to killings.
Yes, of course.
So for all the people who have not seen House of Gucci, this one is for them. So Gucci has this there's a famous quote, right, where the first generation builds, second generation expands, and the third generation destroys. Similar situation with Gucci. Now, Gucci was started by someone, I don't know, his name was Gucci. So, started in the early 19th century, quickly expanded. It started as I think, manufacturer of leather bags. He had 3 sons, brothers, and so these guys came into the business and they expanded pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then again, obviously, they had more sons and daughters and whatnot. So eventually, the father died, the guy who created Gucci died, and one of the sons died.
Yeah.
So there were 2 remaining people in the business, and they had 50% stake each in the business, and they were pretty complementary to each other's skill levels. So it was easier for them to kind of expand.
One
everywhere.
was the designer and the other
Exactly.
one was the marketer.
Yeah, correct. So this happens in the, I think, 1950s or 60s. One of the sons of the brothers, he marries Patricia.
Yeah.
She was which is played by Lady Gaga in House of Gucci.
Yeah.
And she was popularly known for being a gold digger. And she came in, and the father said to his son that, listen, that this woman is not like right. I don't think she's the right woman for the family and stuff. But like guys being guys, they don't listen to their fathers. So yeah, he kind of went ahead with the marriage. She started playing a lot of politics within the family, and she was kind of encouraging him to be the CEO of the company in comparison to his other other children.
Yeah, because I don't think Gucci himself was interested in the business as well, no? Because he left the father.
So earlier he wasn't.
Yeah.
But then eventually he wanted to be the guy in the business because he didn't have any other option, to be honest. So yeah, Patricia came into the family, played politics, whatnot. Then what happened was that, interestingly enough, this guy came into power. His father died, and he came into he became the CEO somehow, and he had a line of things that he had planned for Gucci, revamping all the fashion line and everything for them. So that time Gucci was known for family drama and lawsuits, and he wanted to change that image for them. So he got in a couple of investors on board from private equity or whatnot, and these guys replaced him basically. He started having an affair, or not an affair but a girlfriend with with some sorts, and Patricia then went crazy because they had 2 daughters, and she wanted to have the money for herself and the daughters.
Because I think she also, I don't know if you remember, but it's a very vivid image in my mind. I remember I watched this movie only recently, and in the movie itself, when he introduces himself to her for the first time, her eyes just lit up. And and then she did everything then to end up getting married to him.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
that was
in
quite
fact, after marriage as well, bro, she used to go for these to this woman, right, astrologer.
Oh yeah.
She used to tell her
that that's actually interesting, because I am assuming that's also where the red and the green color of Gucci becomes quite prominent, specifically in the lines moving forward, because she said that it was the color, green was to save them, I believe, and red
green was to save them. I think red was just lucky or something like that.
Yeah, it's either of the two.
Yeah. But so yeah, she used to go to these astrologer and all, and so this guy Gucci, he kind of has a girlfriend and all right now, and he divorced her because she went crazy with the politics and stuff, right? So she became crazy after him, and she started stalking him for 2 years after their divorce. Later, she went around town asking people, how can I kill my ex-husband and get away with it? And she kind of hired someone conspiring with her astrologer.
No.
She hired someone to kill the guy, the CEO of Gucci, and they killed him. And 2 years later, nobody heard about this. The case was shut down and all. Suddenly, the police get an anonymous tip from some guy that look into Patricia Gucci. She has killed Maurizio, which is her husband, ex-husband. So and they found her, and then she goes to jail for 29 years. She could have gotten parole after 18 years, but she chose not to because I quote, I have not worked a day in my life and I don't intend on doing that.
That was quite something.
Yeah.
She really was.
So that
she
was
quite
dark,
a force of nature of sorts.
But so I think all these brands, luxury brands, they have a pretty dark story. I think you have one with Chanel also related to World Wars, bro.
Yes, particularly with Chanel. I mean, she is the only or the first creative designer who was a woman. So interestingly, if you actually go back and date all the luxury brands and their creative designers, it was Saint Laurent, and then there was Versace, Christian Dior, each and every one, even Gucci for that matter, right? Even LV.
Yeah.
All of them were men creating for women. And she had a very distinctive idea about that, and I kind of agree to that as well, because I think only a woman knows what they need, and so even when it comes to being dressed up, we were always, back in the day, like women were put in like tight corsets and like tight skirts. They had to wear all these, very high heels, which were extremely uncomfortable, right? So like, I think even today, someone asked me to wear heels, it gives me a
it's
little
still
bit of
pretty
like a,
uncomfortable.
yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, imagine you had to do that every single day when you get up. And so Chanel actually coming in was quite revolutionary for like so many women, right? Because she understood what women wanted, and it was very beautiful to watch fashion marry comfort. And that was actually, I think, one of the first times that concept itself was created was by Chanel, right? I mean, keeping aside obviously very controversial stories about how she could be she played a double role, and she was spies for both Nazi and the British.
What?
I mean, again, something that you go and read up about. We don't really know for sure.
I mean,
what
it's
really
a conspiracy
happened.
theory at the
Yeah,
end.
but
if you're saying
but
it
but
like
it's
that.
like interesting to kind of know that back in the day, women were also put into roles like this, where they were in a power role, quite literally, and they were able to kind of maneuver and move forward. And I think a story of hers is inspiring because it shows you to carve your own way moving forward. It's never been very easy for women anyway, right? So it helps you to kind of see it through in that direction, but also at the same time, not to forget how she expanded the business, and it is Chanel is what it is today. It's an ultra luxury brand at this point. Chanel number 5, the perfumery as well, it did so well. So it was quite interesting. But it was said that back in the day she was dating the Nazi, so she was staying probably at Ritz-Carlton during the World War.
Where's Ritz-Carlton?
In Paris.
Okay.
And then, because that was like during the time of Nazis, they had all taken over. And then at the same time, there is, the British who helped her build her business after the Second World War was over. So it's quite an interesting contrast really to see there.
Yeah, but to be honest, I can't like blame her because she
did what she had to do to survive.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, it's a pretty similar story to Louis Vuitton as well.
Yeah.
So the Louis Vuitton story comes in where this boy is Louis Vuitton. He's born in a farm in France, somewhere in France, and he's like pretty poor. So he has an ordinary life. Suddenly his mom dies. His father remarries to someone, and that person is very toxic. So he left at the age of, I think, 12 or something to go to Paris. Now, it took him 3 years to get to Paris. So in between those 3 years, he had to do odd jobs to kind of survive,
But
right?
can you imagine walking to another place for 3 whole years?
So
like,
that's why they used to say,
you cannot even
right?
fathom that today.
Why do you think people say that this generation has gone soft? Like, there's a reason when you look at stories or, people don't know the Louis Vuitton story.
Of course, yeah.
So, coming back to the story, he walked to Paris for 3 years and he had to do a lot of odd jobs, which was kind of like working for an artisan, working for a craftsman, something like that, which was kind of building up his skill.
Yeah.
Eventually, he reached Paris. He started working for someone over there in the leather bags industry, something like that. And
the trunk industry.
Yeah, the trunk industry, right? So he got to meet a few people who were like very, very rich, and they liked his work. So they kind of helped him basically build a good career.
It was actually royalty,
Royalty, correct.
Yeah.
So this happened 100 years later, whatnot. This guy's like keep going on and on and on, and the Louis Vuitton brand continues. Now, like I said, the second generation expands. So the second generation, I think his name was William or something, he kind of expanded into different countries. Now Louis Vuitton was known globally. World War started. They had an ultimatum that either you survive by working with the Nazis, or like you kind of have to shut shop. So he kind of decided to do that. But these guys were criticized for that, but eventually they got to, like they said out in a statement that we're not proud of it, but we had to do what we had to do
to survive.
So have you ever wondered like why Bernard Arnault, who's the richest man in the world right now, He never started Louis Vuitton, but yet he's the CEO
Yeah.
of it, and he's not even from private equity or anything like that.
Mhm.
So there's a story behind it where uh, this guy William's son, third generation, he kind of interestingly enough expanded into like what we know as LVMH right now, and the brands under that.
Yeah.
It was his idea. LVMH stands for Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, right?
Mhm.
Now he merged with Moet Hennessy, and after that merger, he started having problems with the president of Hennessy.
Mm.
So because of that, there were differences, and he went to his close friend Bernard Arnault to help him by coming on as an investor in the company. Sorry.
Yeah.
So he came on. Bernard Arnault partnered with with the Hennessy president
Mhm.
and bought major control of the company. And then he kind of expurged this friend out of the company, and then became the CEO of the company himself. And then this happened like 50, 60 years ago maybe. And then that's how we know and celebrate Bernard Arnault today as we know him. But there is something that he has done in the past to get here, So yeah, that's the, I think, entire dark stories of these brands that I think people don't know about, but now they know.
Interestingly, actually, I would like to point out that nothing's white or black.
Everything's
right?
in a grey. bro.
Everything's just so gray.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not that what he did was right or what was wrong, but you also cannot always get to where you are by doing all the right things.
Bro,
as
so
well.
that's what I was saying, right? That when we spoke about ambition, people do things in ambition, right? And it's not right or wrong, but as you grow old and you start hitting reality about life, you get to learn that there's a lot of gray areas in life, So I think this is it.
Yeah,
It's
and
like-
you do what you have to do, to survive in the
Like,
end.
it's like
yeah.
when you're marketing, now everyone knows everything is marketing right now. So when
Yeah.
you're marketing, you need to put it in a right or wrong category.
Correct.
But it's a very gray area where someone
It
has done
is.
something for the sake of it, or what he or she had to do.
That's the thing that I don't think there's a lot of people don't normally know the backstory, and are normally only judged by the actions that are taken to manifest whatever that there is today, right?
Yeah. So on that note, I think this was an experience in itself. I really don't know about fashion that much, but it was very interesting for me to learn about all of this from you. I just knew about the Gucci and the LV story, but yeah,
I mean, I'm glad that there was something that I could share.
Yeah, no, I think
and,
there was a lot of value add. So obviously, if a person is listening to this from the fashion world, I think they would know about all of this. But even to them, there would be some sort of value add. But to the person who has no clue, like
Yeah.
me, I think this was like a lot of things could be taken from this. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing all that you've learned from the time you've been in this industry. And I hope you keep having these experiences again and again in the future.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.